Hello, everybody. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to join. Good evening. Happy Sunday to you all. Welcome to Now Chat Show. I am Janelle Rayburn and I will be joined very shortly by Caz. I'm going to add her very shortly. So, as you guys know, if you've been watching, we have been doing a series all around Dating Deconstructed. And we have done 4 episodes in the series, and we had our last episode last Sunday. So we don't have a guest today, but Kaz and I will be basically catching up and basically reviewing the series so far, our takeaways from the series, the things that we found really insightful and educational, and just basically wrapping up. Hi, Fran. How you doing? Happy Sunday to you. I was just saying that actually we don't have a guest today, but Kaz and I will be catching up and reviewing the series that we have just concluded, which is Dating Deconstructed. And we had 4 episodes in that series. And we started off the first episode talking about the single black female and whether that's a myth or a reality. Hey, Kaz. And we had a number of other episodes, but Kaz is here with me now, so I am going to request Kaz to join the live, and we're going to talk all about the series. So Kaz, hopefully you're ready. Hope you guys have been enjoying the weather anyway. We've been quite lucky this weekend because we've had some good weather, and we're due for another couple of days of good weather.
Hey Janelle, how you doing, girl?
Well, I'm good. How are you doing?
I am well. I'm good.
Good. Hi, Fran.
Hello,
Hope
everybody.
you're well too. Fran is
Hi,
on with us at the moment.
I can hear like some feedback.
From me? I can't.
Okay.
I can hear you clearly.
That's fine.
I've got
So
headphones
how
in.
are you doing?
Hey Tracy.
Hey Tracy.
I'm good. I've had a really blessed weekend. Enjoyed the weather today. Went to the ecology centre that I found out about in lockdown, as you know.
Oh yes.
In fact, let me just put my phone on Do Not Disturb as well.
Now, Janelle's going to be back. There you go, because you went for a moment. Hi, Rose.
Hello. So I've been enjoying the weather today. We've got some more good weather tomorrow and Tuesday, so I'm really looking forward to that. What about yourself? How's your day been?
It's been great. I'm just at Serena's and just come down, just very last minute, it's very spontaneous. So I'm just at hers and they're having a barbecue and just here with friends. And I've got an audience in front of me. I've got an audience.
So you've not only got a virtual audience in Cyberworld, but you've got a physical audience.
Yes, I do. And I feel very nervous.
Like you to be nervous. No need for nerves. They'll start clapping and
Anyway.
you'll get around the soon.
Yeah. So what's Fran saying? She's saying the internet's been funny lately. Yeah.
Well, guys, let us know if you can see us okay, hear us okay. I can see you, Kaz, fine. Hopefully you can see me fine.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Hey, Monica. Monica's here. She's actually really funny because she's actually sitting in front of me as my audience. Hey, Gemma.
Oh, wow. Hey, Gemma. Maybe that's where the feedback. Maybe if they've got the volume up, maybe that's where you're hearing feedback from. I don't know.
No. She hasn't got the volume on at all. I can now.
And Tracy says I can
now. Oh wait, can you hear feedback, Tracy? Thumbs up if yes, thumbs down if you can't. Because if you do, then no, but I haven't got no volume on.
No, so I think just let us know you can hear us okay. Hey, Rachel, just let us know you can hear us okay.
Rachel. Yeah, I think we're good to go, Janelle.
Yeah, so I was just explaining that we have just concluded the Dating Deconstructed series. We had
Hmm.
4 episodes in the series, and we started off with single black female and whether that's a myth or reality. The second episode was dating from the male perspective, which was rather interesting. The third
It
episode was
was
about online dating, and so we actually heard from the viewers, the people out there, and people actually shared their experiences. And then the last one, last Sunday, was all about sex, and that was a very
yes,
insightful as well.
very insightful. Yeah, definitely very insightful. It wasn't about, say, positions as such, as we didn't talk about sex in that way. We talked about sex in terms of like from young people, from mature individuals, and what sex, how precious sex is. And obviously some
Yeah,
people using online for hookups, which is absolutely fine, but just like we really got to look at it from a different perspective
that's
in
right.
regards
Yeah.
to sex and how deep this thing is. Sex is such a beautiful thing. It's such a,
Mhm.
it's just, but I think it's just the way it's being dealt with. It's really taken out of content. We just kind of abuse what sex and what it should really mean.
Mhm.
That's what I kind of got from it for myself personally. I've loved every single one of the episodes that we've currently, which we've done.
Yeah.
People sharing their own experience with online dating. Obviously, I was supposed to do my research on online dating, but guys, you understand why I'm not doing online dating, because based upon what was shared with Stefan on iLive Radio, with Jeremiah, with Rachel's wasn't actually bad. Rachel's one was quite cool with
She
her
had a good
feedback.
experience. Yeah.
She did. But what I also noticed based upon Rachel's experience, because obviously she got married very young, it's like she's already had the marriage, if that makes sense. Whereas a lot of us who are online, especially as women, we're looking to be married, if that makes sense, to a certain
Mhm.
extent. Not everybody, because some people just use it to hook up, etc. But ultimately, when looking online, it's a way of actually meeting somebody else. And some people may be looking for their significant other,
Mhm.
and obviously they're moving in a certain way, which obviously they're going to be disappointed in, because rather than collecting information, rather than looking at the white dress and the wedding day, etc., it's just online dating. You're just
Mhm.
meeting that person, you're getting to know that person, and we want to be running as if we're actually, we're in this marriage. Like, yo, take time, take time. You know what I mean? But I think what I got from, especially from Rachel's story, it was so good. And then also Jeremiah as well, where he also gave those gems about, men controls the relationship, but women, they're the ones, they're the gateway for the sex. Do you get what I'm saying? Because if you don't get the consent from a woman, then it's a rape, isn't it? So that's the position of it all. But I think with that being said, it was so on point when he said it's men that controls the relationship. Big up Media Net, big up Theo, man like Theo's in the house. What's going on, bro? And Nana's there as well. Listen, you know what? Listen, you know what, Janelle? You're gonna have to take over, because I can see today. I can see. I can see
So,
properly
so
today.
Fran had said, talking about sex for the young or the youth, have you ladies watched the French movie Cutie? It's currently on Netflix and been highly criticised. Haven't watched it yet personally. Can't say that I've seen it, but I
Oh,
will definitely look out for that, actually.
I've
Have you heard
seen
about
I've seen it, but I haven't watched it, Fran. I did flick over it, because I think, is it three girls and they hook up with different guys. But I kind of like read the actual just the little synopsis of what the show's about, but I haven't actually watched it. It's just, I don't know, it just weren't really appealing to me. But now that you've mentioned it, I
it?
think I will watch it. But I've been watching Tough Love web
Yeah, you
series,
on
and that's
Friday.
by, yeah, director and producer Cole Caleb and Ronnie Davis. It's a husband and
Hmm.
wife, and they've done this whole series, and it's so well done. It's like literally like 20 to 30 minutes, but you see them do like the online dating, you see like the toxic relationships, you see the relationships that started up from such a young age and it didn't work out well because there was certain secrets that wasn't, just not being honest in that relationship. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's definitely a must watch, guys. I would totally encourage people to watch it. It's got such a good review, and you've seen some amazing actresses that's also gone into bigger things, working with Tyler Perry. There's a guy that I blatantly got a crush on. His name is called Travis Cure. I'm keeping it real.com. Listen, Monica is giving me face right now.
Travis
She's
might be
fanning
watching, by the
herself.
way. Travis, if you're watching, Kaz has
Travis,
a crush.
like, that's all I can say. When I saw him on the TV, mate, I almost fainted. But then I thought to myself, if I faint, who's going to pick me up? Because I live by myself. Not that I was really thinking about that, because you don't think if you're going to faint, innit? But the guy is so buff, yeah. I know he's young, but mate, the
Okay,
eyes.
I'm gonna have to take a glimpse of Travis. To be
Apparently,
honest,
he's
I
on the
haven't seen
oval.
the Okay, I haven't seen the series, but I am definitely going to check it out. But talking of series, so back to the whole series that we did, I think, certainly from my perspective anyway, I it what we discovered, or what I discovered, in the kind of insight that we were given, both from the male and female perspective, because we spoke to both men and women, is that it was so educational. There was so much that we assume, so much that we think we know, and really we don't know unless we talk about it. And that's what we were able to do, Kaz. We were able to open up the gateway to talk about relationships openly and honestly, to share experiences, to allow others to share their experiences, and I think most importantly, to talk about relationships, and in particular heterosexual relationships, in between the genders, across the genders. So, you know, we've said before that women will sit and chat amongst themselves about dating, and men will sit and chat amongst themselves about females and their experiences. But how often do we have the conversations between the sexes? Because we think we know what men want and what we have to offer. Men think they know what we want and what they've got to offer us, but do we really know unless we talk about it? So it was beautiful that we were able to unlock certain myths. And really, I think it challenged both of our perceptions on certain things, in particular hearing from men.
Definitely. Especially when we even spoke to, say, Daniel, you know, his philosophy was more based upon taking away from what society has been teaching us and looking at things as, you know, if you want to have, say, sex with somebody, why does it have to be at a certain time that you actually sleep with that person? Now, many of us was like, you know, you can't say that, you know, but that's his perspective, and there's other people with the same kind of views and thoughts as he does, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And
Or can you see Janelle?
can
Janelle,
see
you
you now.
just,
Can
oh,
see
was
you
it
now. I
me
lost
going?
you. I don't know. Until we watch it back, I won't know. But I lost you for a minute, and I'm losing you again.
Because I can
Guys,
see.
just let. Okay, you're back
Monica, can you
again.
see me all right? Or was it Janelle going? Oh, we're both cutting out apparently.
Oh, well,
Should
the
I
old
come out of it and
internet.
then you come? Should I come out of it and then?
Um, no, I think we're fine now. Let's just go with it because you're back. I can see you fine. Can you see me fine?
Yeah, Tani's knocking the door.
That's Kaz's little cousin. How old is she
Yeah,
now,
but you can
Kaz?
have it. Hmm?
How old is she now?
She's how old's Tani? She's like 18 months or something like that. Yeah, she's about 18 months. March next year. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Gosh, she's at that age. She wants to be in everything. So Gemma said we're both back, but both freezing.
Oh,
But I don't know if that's current now. So guys, just let us know if you can see us and hear us okay. We're going to continue talking because I can hear you, Kaz, and you can hear me, and there's
yeah.
not a lot we can do to.
Because it don't matter if the guy is young, if eyes like it, keep watching. I'm just reading some of the comments from Fran. You're saying that, Kaz, if it don't matter if you like the guy, if he's young, eyes like it, keep watching. Okay. I definitely
Gemma said
challenge.
we're all good.
I definitely challenge me and my mindset. Yeah, Rachel said that it really challenged her and her mindset.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Gemma. Yeah, I definitely think it just gives me a different perspective. But what I will say about doing the series, especially with the last episode, which we done on Friday with Yvonne on iLive Radio,
Hmm.
um, it made me even look more so about myself, about how I've been dealing with relationships. And when a man's speaking, just listen to what he's got to say, because you'll hear so much about where he's from and things like that. And the importance of being whole as a woman or as a man before you actually attach yourself to another person. That other person is not going to make you your one. You have to be complete within yourself. And being complete with yourself doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have all the materialistic things, because that's not being complete. That's just stuff. It's about mentally, emotionally, and everything within yourself. You're happy with who you are, even with your flaws, even with things that you may be challenged with and you don't particularly like that about you. You can work on it, you can improve on it, but
Hmm.
ultimately you have to accept that. When you accept it, you feel so much better about it. So you can't then be insecure about it, if that makes sense. No one can use that against you, because you already know that about yourself. And how are you going to find out about those things about yourself? You need to spend time with yourself. And I think another thing we didn't really speak about was dating yourself.
Well, this is true, and it might sound ridiculous, but it's actually, like you said, it's actually getting to know yourself, and understanding yourself and doing the work on yourself and improving yourself constantly. Because the more you do that, is the more that you're going to attract what you actually need and it should be compatible with you. If you're broken, you're more likely to attract somebody that's broken or not the right thing for you. Once you understand yourself and you're working on yourself and you love yourself, you have to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, how can you expect to find love
Somebody to
from
love you
another?
back.
It's got to
Yeah,
start from you.
from
So
self. Hmm.
I think there was so many critical and key things that we were able to kind of dig into and uncover. And obviously with the help of our guests, and we just want to shout out a few of those guests. So we had on Tamara and Lady T for when we discussed single black female. We had Daniel, of course, Daniel Edwards of Total 180 for dating from the male perspective. We
And we
also,
had,
so what we've been doing is we've been discussing that, and then when our radio show comes up on the Friday, we've continued the previous discussion on IG Live. So we had AJ from the Authentic Dating Series, which is a bespoke dating service for men. He came on the radio show. We had Rachel and Jeremiah for the online dating, and then we had Yvonne Michelle, obviously
and
talking
we did
about
also
sex.
have Jeremiah and Charlie Jai as well, who continue with the online dating at radio, I Live Radio. So, guys, if you want to catch up on any of those episodes and you haven't watched those, please go over to I Live Radio UK YouTube channel and also subscribe. I mean, they've got some great content out there as well. They've got some amazing guests who's doing amazing things within the community. So it's definitely worth checking out. But definitely you can watch that full episodes, the one that Janelle mentioned, Authentic Dating with AJ, and then with Charlie and Jeremiah, and then as you were saying about Yvonne Michelle as well.
Yeah, and that was a brilliant show. I mean,
Yeah.
Friday's radio show was pretty. It was a lot of fun, but it was very educational, very insightful, and again, we were able to really unpick a lot of the assumptions that we have. And we spoke. So when she was on the IG Live last week, a lot of the talk around what we were talking about in terms of sex and everything focused on people's attitudes towards sex, in particular young people's attitudes towards sex,
That's
and
right.
how we need to be schooling and nurturing young people into really appreciating, loving, and understanding themselves, so that they don't cheapen themselves and understand that what they have is precious, and not feeling pressured into sex. So speaking life into young people and saying, you are worthy, you are special. And it's not just anybody who's able to just come and be with you. But also there's the emotional side, right? Because a lot of these young kids
Mm-hmm.
now at school and whatever, they're not emotionally ready for sex.
Mm-hmm.
And was telling us about how she works in schools, and she was just saying that how much trauma it's caused young people, and especially caused young females who are now self-harming or whatever, because they felt
Mm-hmm.
pressured into sex, They felt pressured into sending photos of themselves, and then that photo goes around the school viral, or the story of who they've slept with goes around the school viral, and then they're called a sket or a hoe or whatever, and they just feel shame and this kind of this guilt and this shame, and just they start to hate themselves, which brings out the self-harming, etc. So it's really about nurturing a really healthy attitude towards sex, but understanding that sex isn't just sex. Sex is linked to emotion, sex is linked to spirituality, sex is linked to self-worth.
That's
And
right.
you understand all of that, then you'll see sex from a different place. It's not just something that, oh yeah, I can just get my leg over and whatever. No, you'll see it as something much more important, especially because women, we receive. Men give, women receive. So from a female perspective, it's so important that you don't just let any and anybody come into that sacred space, because what you have is literally, it's sacred. It creates life. It gives life. That's where life comes from, right? Okay, there's all of the spirituality behind how life is created, but in terms of giving birth, that comes from a woman's womb. That womb is able to create another human being. So when you think about it in those terms, and you really understand that, you realize how special it is.
But then at the same time, it definitely is special with sex and everything else, because equally you need a man as well as you need a woman. Do you know what I mean? Yes, as a woman, you are the one that's carrying, but you still need that seed to be planted, which comes from the man. So, you know, especially for the young people, that needs to be educated to them. But what we also spoke about with Yvonne last week is the importance as well as parents. You know that you're the parent, and being responsible as being a parent, and not trying to be friends with your younger child, you know what I mean, kind of thing. Or being in competition, there should be a differential. You should be able to differentiate from the parent with the child, you know. And it's important for us to have these kind of conversations. It's important to speak to your son or your daughter to find out whereabouts they are, if they're having sex, etc., to make sure it's not only just protected and prevent them from getting pregnant, but it's also protect them from getting any sexually transmitted diseases, etc. Do you know what I mean? So it's so much deeper, but as us as being the elders, we have to also educate that to our young people as well. You know, it's not about passing judgment, because there are some young girls out there that are very promiscuous because they've been dealing with trauma, etc., like we've mentioned earlier on today. But it's important that we speak about, you know, this is what can happen if you are having sex with this person and not using contraception, etc. So we do need to also have those conversations. Sometimes it can feel uncomfortable, but would it not be better to have those conversations and something else? You know, there's another child now in there, or that child has now got this sexually transmitted disease. That means that, you know, she can't have a child because she gets a cancer or something. Do you know what I mean? So it is so deep. So
It
deep
is
that we
so
have this
deep.
conversation. Yeah.
It is, and it's really, really important, and it's not spoken about enough. I mean, sex is everywhere, but the real conversations behind it don't happen enough. I mean, on Friday when we had Yvonne on the show, we were speaking about the female sexual experience, and we were speaking about the fact that, you know, about 80%, the last survey, so there was a survey done in the UK, and they surveyed about 1,200 women, and about 80% of women reported in that survey that they do not have an orgasm from just
Orgasm. Yeah.
penetration alone. They need some form of stimulation, clitoral stimulation. It's so much more than just the mechanics. Now, a lot of men may not know that, and so men maybe have this preconceived idea that they penetrate a woman, that they thrust in and out for a bit, and then all of a sudden that woman's going to have an orgasm. Well, that isn't really
No,
the
no,
case.
no, 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 no.
Also, for women to understand that if they're not achieving an orgasm through penetrative sex, that they don't have that it's not that they're dysfunctional, they don't have a problem, that there's more behind it. Maybe they need to they need some other stimulation. There needs to be foreplay, and it's about the mind as well, because the brain is one of the biggest, or the biggest, sex organ. So your mind has got to be right, and then that goes back to Yvonne's point about taking responsibility for yourself. So when you
Yeah.
take responsibility, you've got to be at peace and at one with yourself. You've got to be happy with yourself. But as a woman, you also have to know your body, and the only way you're going to do that is to explore your own body, and don't feel any shame in doing that, because there's so much shame around sex.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting, because when Yvonne said that, I did feel like, you know, but it makes so much sense, because if you don't know what downstairs looks like, you know, there's some women that, you know, don't actually know what the actual private looks like. Do you know what I mean? Other than what's on the outside, they haven't actually looked, they haven't actually explored. So how then do you know what you like and you don't like? You know, and these are conversations that needs to be had, because I think there's been such a stigma about it that we feel if you touch yourself or you look down there, it's like you're a nasty gal, you're a dirty gal, and things like that. You can't have those kind of conversations. But now it's like, why wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean? You know, why would it? Not saying that you're going to say, oh, you know, let me have a look down there. But for you need to know your own body. The same way you know how to put your makeup on your face. The same way when you're washing yourself, you should know what's going on down there. If you don't know, how are you going to know if something seems abnormal if you don't even know what normal looks like down there?
Yeah, yeah. And it's yours. It's your
Yeah,
body.
exactly.
If you know, if you are allowing somebody else to touch your body or be intimate with you, why wouldn't you know your own body? Take the shame out of it, because these things have to be spoken about and they have to be understood. But another key takeaway, I guess, for me and probably for the both of us, was how important communication is. Openness and honesty, not just around sex, but around expectations in any relationship. So if you enter into a relationship with somebody, be clear about what you want from that person. Don't kind of
Assume that
sacrifice
they
what
know.
you assume that you know, because when it goes down the road and it isn't what you thought you wanted, did you actually communicate what you wanted? And that goes for all aspects. Are we just in something casual, or are we in a relationship? These are important conversations to have. Don't just coast along and then expect, or do you want to be exclusive to me? Because you might be with somebody who wants to be exclusive, but the other person doesn't. Have the conversation. And when you have the conversation, it's about whatever works for the two of you, for those two people. If you come from a point of honesty, if you give me the facts and you're honest with me, then I can make a decision for myself. I can say, okay, this person doesn't want a relationship. I know that. Therefore, I want a relationship, but this person isn't for me. Or this person
Yeah.
wants a relationship. I don't want a relationship. Therefore, I'm not for this person. You've got to have that communication. Equally, communication in the bedroom and around sex. What works for you and what doesn't work for you. And it's got to be in a sensitive and loving way, not trying to diss the other person or be critical of their performance, but actually, like Yvonne said, nurturing, guiding, and doing it from a place of trust and mutual understanding. We are big people. We talk about everything else, so we should talk about the fundamentals in life. Like we've always said, Caz, every single one of us is here because of sex.
Yeah,
Yeah?
that's right. And I think also, to add to what you're saying, it's also about being honest. You know, just being honest. I mean, don't fake it. If something doesn't feel right for you, explain, communicate that. Be honest. You know, you shouldn't ever have to unapologetically, you know, apologize for speaking your truth or being honest about yourself. If something doesn't feel right, you are entitled to say, that's not all right with me, or that doesn't sit well with me, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's not about accepting things. And it's even like what Yvonne was even saying about, there's women that's having sex with men and they're in pain, and they won't necessarily say, yes, thank you, Miss S. Power. She said communication is key. Absolutely. But so is honesty, you know, when you have that communication, be honest. So, because that just knocks down so many barriers. You get to know where that person's coming from. And I think another thing that I got from the whole series as well, the importance of getting to know that other person before you jump into bed with that person and then say, right, I want to have a relationship with this person. Because, you know, like, especially on this online thing as well, with the whole Hinge and the Plenty of Fish and all that kind of stuff, I personally haven't done it, but based upon the stories that were shared and everything else, it seems as if some people are being honest and some people aren't. Like Charlie was explaining where she met a guy, he said he was 41 and he wasn't 41, he was like 51. He said he didn't have kids and he had kids, and there were so many lies. And that's what it's going back down to being honest. So she's then meeting this person, and this person hasn't even been upfront with her with his honesty. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't said his real age. He hasn't said about, you know, he's got kids or anything. But now she's finding out all this information because he's basically saying that, you know, well, I just wanted to see what would happen, because I know if I gave all that information, then I may not have got to meet the right kind of woman that you want to see. But then that's taken away that person who's going based upon the lie that you're telling. That's just mashed them up, because it's like, well, I'm linking this guy. Why am I wasting my time? Because this guy is opposite to what I want. And it's not even that you're being difficult. It's just that that's not what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And he's lying. He's wasting people's time. Do you know what I mean? That's not fair. That's deceiving people.
Well, that's the thing. It's the deceit. So like I was saying before, you come from a place of honesty. You say what you're about. That person then has an informed choice. They've got the facts and they can make their choice one way or the other. I think people are afraid to be honest, especially when it comes to relationships. And I don't know why that is. Like, why are we afraid? Why are we, you know, if we have good relationships with friends, we can be honest with friends, good, bad, or indifferent, you know? So when it comes to a relationship with an other, why are we so afraid, or why are people so afraid to be honest? Is it that they're afraid that that person might run away? You know, what is going on there? We're not bringing our authenticity. We're not bringing our true self. We are holding back because, and maybe from a woman's perspective, sometimes you think, well, if I say this or I say that, then I might scare him off. So I'm just going to say nothing. But the saying nothing, the seed is there. You just haven't explored or spoken about it. And, you know, that then festers and it becomes a problem.
Yeah, definitely. Lady Double J07, she's made a point. She said, I think honesty avoids, sorry, one second. I think honesty avoids cheating. Cheaters don't confess because they tend to want someone who doesn't cheat. And it's nice when someone's honest and clear from the beginning, that they gives you a choice of you. Some want the same things. Okay, so I guess what Miss S Power and Lady J00 is saying is, obviously when you're just being clear, you know, you've been honest from the absolute beginning, it prevents, you know, anyone just basically, you know exactly what that person wants, isn't it? But a lot of the time, I suppose, when a cheater's not going to be honest. Do you get what I'm saying? Because they're a cheater. But then you would know from the off go, this person, nah, I can't mess with that.
Yeah.
Because they're not being honest in the first place.
Honesty there.
Sorry?
It just comes back, it's if there's honesty there, it just comes back to having the facts in front of you, so then you can make a choice. If somebody says to you, I don't want to be exclusive to just you, you've got the facts. So either you know that,
and then you know, sorry to cut you, Jenna, then you know whether or not you want to mess around with this person because they're being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are afraid of honesty because we societal norms tell us when it comes to relationships, etc., we need to show up in a certain way. And if that societal norm doesn't work for that person, then just be honest about what you want. But something else I loved about what we did with the series and what I discovered was how we have, and I think it's Rachel who said it, you can have a list as long as your arm of what you want in somebody else. But are you even meeting all of that criteria yourself as a female? Like you want, I think Jeremiah, you know, made a joke and he said like
open a bank account.
Exactly. But do you have all of those things? And I think first and foremost, it has to start with self. But also we have to understand, and we're talking about it from a woman's perspective, how sometimes, especially when you're a strong female, you're an alpha female, how you can show up sometimes that can alienate a man. You need to be aware of those behaviors. And if that is a good man and the right man for you, you have to know how to not necessarily be weak, but know how to be submissive, or know how to work in harmony instead of working in contradiction. There is a lot of, you know, pressure. I don't know if pressure is the right word, but a lot of the time we feel like it's women versus men, you know, and people bring that in relationships. Why does it have to be that way? You're both together. So try to work in harmony. And the relationships that I've seen that have really worked are people working in harmony. I mean, I had a beautiful day yesterday. I spent some time at a really close friend of mine, one of my closest friends, Zoe. Her and her husband have been together, gosh, I don't know, maybe 16 or so years, more years maybe. And they have a beautiful relationship. And it's not easy. They would tell you it's not always been easy. But what they are is committed to each other, and they're committed to working together to support each other where they need support, to communicate, having that open and honest communication, and they are committed to making it work for them and for their family, and still very much in love. And it's beautiful to see, because I've seen them grow over the years. I've seen them have a family. I've seen, they moved in terms of their career, and just really putting everything into that family and into that relationship and building a foundation, a solid foundation. And they are there for each other no matter what. It's so beautiful to see. And when you understand that, when you enter, if you are committed to somebody and you're entering into something with somebody, then it's about harmony. Back to Yvonne's point, it's not me versus you. I'm going to challenge you. Oh, I need to prove that I'm right. It's not about that. It's about finding that balance and that harmony.
Yeah, but then I think in order for you to find that balance and harmony, you have to be one within yourself. You have to know yourself as an individual, because then you know what you're bringing to the table. You're not expecting this person to, complete you. And because you're not expecting that person to complete you, you don't have the high expectations. So you can grow together. You can have conversation, you can build together with this person, because it's not like, oh, I have an expectation that he's got to have X, Y, Z before he can attach himself with me. No, you've got to be complete within yourself. Him being with you is kind of like to enhance. It's like he's complimenting you, or you're complimenting him. Why would a man be with a woman that's just like, don't have nothing to bring to the table? All she's going to do is complain this and the other about X, Y, Z. That's not going to bring no peace to that man. Do you know what I mean? And to be quite honest, it's not even bringing peace to yourself, so you have to be at peace with self, because you can't expect to be in peace with that other person and be in harmony with that person if you're not in peace within yourself. It has to start within you.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes a lot of us haven't seen healthy relationships growing up, and so we form our approach to relationships when we get older based on what we've seen. But it's never too late to learn, and you are absolutely right. It's got to start with you. You've got to be at one with yourself, 100% at peace with yourself, and constantly working on yourself. But another thing that Yvonne said is, she said, success leaves clues. So if you see somebody who's got a successful relationship, they might be your friend, they might be, a family member. How did they do it? What worked for them? Talk to them. What works? But also, what do you like about the way that they interact? What do you like about the way that they operate? And emulate that. Now, that doesn't just apply to relationships. It applies to various aspects of life. It applies in the professional world as well. You want to get to a certain level in your profession, your career, business, whatever it is, and you see somebody who's successful. That's why people have mentors. That's why people have coaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we don't have all the answers. And if we don't have the answers within, sometimes we have to look outside of ourselves and say, okay, what works? What works for that person? Why does it work? Why do they have a harmonious relationship or a successful relationship? What do I need to look at within myself? Because it takes two to make a relationship work, and it takes two to make a relationship fail. And yeah, there could be bigger failings on one side than the other, but it doesn't matter. It takes two to make it work or to make it fail. You have constantly got to be looking at yourself and saying, what do I need to do better?
Yes, it definitely, and again, that comes back down to having a relationship with yourself, because it's like, if you are so scared of being with yourself, then how can you expect somebody else to attach them to you? If you have a problem, like you said earlier on, if you have a problem in loving yourself with all your flaws and everything else, then you're going to have a problem with that person, because you're not even accepting certain things, or not even accepting certain things, because sometimes we can accept things and say, well, that's just the way I am. Well, actually, is that just the way you are, or is that the way you're choosing to be difficult and things like that? I know sometimes it sounds a bit harsh. I'm actually speaking to myself, because sometimes I say, well, I'm like this, but no, actually, no. Why should I make somebody feel uncomfortable because I'm not happy within myself? I need to deal with where my unhappiness is coming from. And when I started to discover where my unhappiness was coming from, that's the area that I needed to work on. I needed to work on forgiveness. Do you know what I'm saying? Not only just forgiveness for the person that hurt me, but I had to forgive myself as well. Because if I don't deal
Yeah.
with that, then what's going to happen is it's going to create like, it's almost like creating like a some kind of a disease inside of you, and it keeps on growing and keeps on growing. You're not dealing with the root problem. So all you're doing is covering it up. You can be putting on the makeup, looking crisp, looking buff, buying all the nice gear and everything else, but you're not dealing with who you are inside. So therefore you're coming up to this person, to this man, and you ain't even dealt with yourself. You spent all this time being single and you're thinking, oh, it's the man's fault, this, that, and the other. But then no, but what are you bringing to the table? Do you know what I mean? But we as women especially, we watch so many movies, especially our single ladies. You know, I was in a church for a little while, and most of the women that was in the church, they just wanted to be married. I'm like, yo, like, that was never my agenda. But when I, you know, was a Christian at one stage, that's what all these women were on. They just wanted to get married. And I already knew for myself that marriage is not going to be easy. But I need to sort myself out, because my key focus is, why do I keep on attracting the same kind of brothers all the time that I don't particularly want to be with? Why is it that I keep on doing these repetitive behavior and it seems really dysfunctional? So I had to look at myself, because it's got to be something about me that's attracting that kind of energy all the time. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when people saying to me, oh, come so you're single, this, that, and the other, I'm like, well, you know what? That person ain't come for me right now. Emotionally, I'm not ready for that, because there's still certain things in myself that I have to work on. It's not working on in terms of buying a house and buying this, that, and the other. Like I said earlier, those are materialistic things. You can't build with somebody like with the sandy foundation. You need it to be solid. If I'm not solid, that relationship's not going to work, because it's going to be built on sand. It's going to collapse.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, just reflecting it back to myself as well. Like you said, you know, you had to deal with forgiveness and forgiving yourself and loving yourself. For myself, I had to deal with forgiveness again, and forgiving things that had happened in my past. But also, you know, really kind of, first of all, really trying to understand myself. Anger was one of my biggest issues. And anger, it's not coming from that person. The anger's coming from stuff that's gone on, you know, trauma in my life, and seeing anger in relationships as well, unhealthy relationships. I had to deal with anger. I had to deal with the need to feel that I must be in control, and then wanting to control the other. That's something I've had to identify within myself. Why do I, and it's not a conscious thing, it's a subconscious thing, but that fed into how I would interact with a person in my life. Why do I feel like I need to do that? Well, when I delve back into it, because when I'm not in control, I feel like anxiety there. When I feel like I'm not controlling things, so if everything is controlled, then I feel good. But like Lady J said, it's about self-awareness. There's a couple of other comments there. If I can try and scroll, I don't know if you can scroll down.
I'm seeing some.
So she said, so Jeanette, my sister and hubby just celebrated 25 years of marriage. Fantastic, actually. Congratulations. And they used to call me on speakerphone to fairly mediate a disagreement. If that's what they felt that they needed to do to get that third party view, and Jeanette, I am assuming that even though it's your sister, you're going to give a fair opinion because they trust you with it, then that's what you need to do. You know, it also, like we say, it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to sustain other people's relationships. Sometimes the person, you may be providing support to those people. Miss S. Power said, past traumas and inner demons can cause unhealthy relationships. 100%. What I'm talking about. Past traumas and all this baggage. You say, I'm not going into a relationship with baggage. Yes, you are, and you don't even realize.
Yeah, because no one's perfect. And this is the thing, because a lot of us is not taking that responsibility in dealing with it. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you're not dealing with the baggage or whatever it is that you basically haven't completed, you haven't closed that chapter in, it's going to keep on showing up. That's one of the things that I know for myself. The same things that I was not dealing with, because I was a kind of person, I don't want to really deal with the confrontation, so I would run away and I would dismiss it, and I was just like, be gone, block. But you can't deal with life like that. You have to face certain things, because if you don't face it, you don't grow, you don't learn about yourself. Ramona also made a message, sent a comment. She said, yes, and to forgive is the hardest thing to do. But once you do it, you'll feel that weight, you didn't realize you was carrying lifted. And that is so true, because it's like, I think it was like last week, right, Janelle, there was something that was going on. I remember when I said I strained my neck, and when we had that conversation, when we was talking, the next day, I swear that pain had gone, but I felt as if, because I was holding back certain information or holding back a situation, I wasn't talking about it. So it was starting to inflict on me in terms of my body. And they even say, the most of the illnesses that is caused on this planet with individuals, with human beings, is because they haven't dealt with forgiving whatever that trauma is. They haven't dealt with it, so they become ill. That's why there's so many people dying of cancer and things like that. I'm not saying it's all based upon trauma and unforgiveness, but the majority of it is. And a lot of people, because they're not happy within themselves, they haven't laughed in years, and because they haven't laughed in years, it's like they're constantly holding back whatever it is. And I think there was some kind of there's some research where there was a gentleman who kept on going seeing his doctor, and he kept on just going to the doctor, getting a prescription for, say, the depression that he had. Then the doctor actually said to him, look, when was the last time you laughed? And he was just like, I don't laugh. And he was just still complaining. And he said, look, I need you to just watch something really funny on TV, like watch a comedy, blah, 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 blah. He watched the comedy, and he said when that patient came back, he said this patient looked completely different. It's like 10 years had been lifted off them.
Wow.
Because they hadn't laughed, they were just so in their place of being in their heads and complaining and, just not living and things like that. And how much of us is doing that? How much of us is just complaining about X, Y, Z and, just not forgiving or not letting things go? That's another thing, not letting things go. And because you're not letting things go, you're constantly carrying it. And that's weighing you down. That's taking away your youthfulness. That's taking away the mojo inside of you, because you're not letting go of certain things that just didn't work out.
That's right. I mean, Lady J also said, very interesting question, actually. First of all, she said, great self-awareness, Caz. But she said, do we think that men analyze themselves like we ladies sometimes do?
Well,
that's a good question.
That is a good question. And I think that's a question that we should be asking on the bonus episode.
Definitely. We haven't told them about the bonus episode yet, but we will.
Yeah, the bonus episode.
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say that probably some do. Is it a natural thing for men to delve into their own emotional side? Probably not. Women are much more emotional and come from a more emotional place. But that's not to say that men might not analyze themselves, and they may enter into a relationship that doesn't work out. They leave that relationship, and then they do have to do that self-analysis. Whether they're able to develop themselves is a choice. It's all a choice for us, the self-work that we need to do. And if we can't do all the work, then we get help, whether that's therapy or whatever it might be, but doing that self-work. So I think to answer that question, I think more and more it's becoming acceptable to have these conversations as a man. And we've had quite a bit of engagement from men. It's becoming more and more acceptable to have these conversations, and not just to be like, yeah, I'm the man, I'm macho, I don't, my feelings don't matter, I don't really talk about feelings. No, we're now starting to break those barriers down. And by breaking those barriers down, again, we create more well-rounded people who are able to go forth in the world and have productive relationships. But I also think it's what happens in the home. So how are boys raised versus girls? And yes, boys are different to girls. We understand that. But from an emotional point of view, we need to let boys know it's okay to be in touch with their emotional side, so that when they grow up, they're coming from it. They can understand emotions and come from an emotional place.
Yeah. Miss S. Power says men have self-awareness but don't act as they have more ego. So, I mean, I can't really say that because I'm not a man. Do you know what I mean? I can't really answer that question. And I think if I was to answer that question, that's just going to come from a complete biased place. But I think that is definitely that's frozen. Janelle, are you there? You there? Yes, Janelle is back.
I'm back.
We both
Should
froze.
be okay.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Hey. All right. Cool. Ooh, to apologize,
Right.
guys.
Yeah.
These things we cannot control.
But it was just a quick catch up anyway. I think, we just wanted to kind of summarize the key takeaways from the series that we've just done, which was an amazing series. Even if we do say so ourselves, we learned so much. It was so insightful, so educational. So we really thank people out there who have watched and shared and given us their feedback and contributions and just their viewpoint. And we've had many people actually who've said to us they've learned so much, things that they didn't know, seeing things from a different perspective. So, for that, I don't think we quite knew how. We had an idea of what the themes we wanted to cover. I don't think we quite knew how it would play out, but it's played out in such a way that it's been really positive. It's been
Yes,
really, really
definitely.
positive for us, as well as those people who have been watching and participating. And there is so much talk around relationships at the moment. It just seems to be everywhere there's talk around relationships, but there has to be, because we are
Yeah.
human. We are human beings and we interact, and most of the time as individuals we're looking for that significant other to love, whether that's a man from a male perspective or a female perspective. And until we like, I think earlier in the comments Fran said all these movies, they portray this fantasy that's not real. Fairy tales and fantasies, that's where we're coming from. How about just talking to the people who are living on this planet in the world, who are in relationships, successful relationships and maybe not so successful relationships, and understanding what difficulties they've encountered. Just talking back to the whole communication
But
point of view.
but that's why I would definitely suggest, guys, check out Tough Love web series. Seriously, check out Tough Love web series. Like I said, it's very short. They've got like about 3 seasons. There's like 11 episodes for each season, but it's so relatable. You can resonate with it in so many ways, whether you're single, whether you're in a relationship. They bring up some real like issues that we have in relationships, etc., in terms of those that may be dealing with like previous past hurt, trauma. It was so much. There was so much, like the way that Roni Caleb wrote this. I mean, Roni Davis, how she wrote this is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I just binged on it. I found it, discovered it in my research on Monday, and I literally watched the whole 3 series for the entire day, and I learned so much. And
So can you
obviously
just
from
repeat
doing the
that?
series,
Tough love.
it's called Tough Love web series. I'll type it in.
Tough Love web series. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to check it out as well. Lady J, Jeanette said, thank you for the series. She agrees about learning so much. Jeanette, thank you for your support and feedback and interaction and watching. And we're just really happy that we've been able to impart knowledge that Caz and I didn't have, but just by having the conversations that's been shared by other people, to reveal, what it takes to have successful and meaningful relationships, and where we should be coming from as individuals to ensure that we are going forward and trying to have healthy, successful, meaningful relationships. I mean, back to the very first episode talking about single black female, we were saying about how many black females are single, and is it like this thing? Is it a crisis that we're in? Is there hope? And I think what we discovered is that, of course, there's hope. There's always hope. There's always going to be hope. Yeah, there might be a lot of single black females for various reasons, but we looked into a lot of those reasons, whether it's from ancestral trauma, from the way we show up in relationships, from the fact that, unfortunately, we're operating from a smaller pool in the UK, so there's less of a pool. We do outnumber men as well as women. I think it's by about 3-1, something like that. But, there are other factors that Lady T spoke about, like, unfortunately, some black men are either incarcerated, or they've been put into mental health institutions, or they've lost their lives. You know, there's so many different layers to what's going on. But we did conclude, and Tamara actually said, when we said myth or reality, she said, for her, it's a myth because she's not going to accept that as her reality. And I think that's the most important thing. If you start to accept it as your reality, then that becomes your
Then it becomes
reality.
your reality. That's right.
Right?
Definitely.
If you put something else in the universe and you say there's hope, and I, you know, committed to the universe, you don't have to be religious, but, you know, some kind of spiritual practice that says, I have faith and trust and knowledge that I love myself, I'm working on myself, and I'm going to attract that right person. And I'm going to do everything I can to nurture that relationship, to be the best I can be in that relationship.
Yes, definitely. And I think even going back on what you've just said, because obviously with Lady T saying, it's about hope. But one of the good news that I did see throughout the like social media, Instagram, was Lisa Nichols. Lisa Nichols is a motivational. She's not even just a motivational. She's a transformational speaker, and she's 54 and just got engaged. And
I
mate,
saw that.
her man is buff star. Like, yo, mate, I would have waited for that. Trust me, I would have waited for that. But what she did say is it wasn't easy. Do you know what I mean? Because this is a woman that came from her own brokenness, came from her own insecurity. She had to work on herself first before she could work on anybody else. And Denise, the fashion stylist who's on here with us now. Hey, Denise. Denise is the one that actually introduced me to Lisa Nichols. And I literally fell in love with this woman because not was only she just a woman that I could resonate with, but it's just like, because she was just this woman that was not scared to talk about her vulnerability, talk about where she came from, her environment, her family always was like kind of poor. They had a poor, limited mindset, and she understood what you said, what you speak out into the universe became your truth. And the importance of the power of the words. She made sacrifices. I mean, she was working some crazy jobs, kept saving up money because she had no idea about percentage and things like that. She just kept sending this money into a bank account that she didn't know why she had this bank account, but she just said that the bank account was just like it's investing into her dream, and she didn't know what that dream was going to be. But this woman was featured in The Secret, and her sharing her recent news, being 54, being engaged now, it just gives hope, like
It's
she
a
worked on
wonderful.
herself. Yeah, it just was like, wow. I need to just see what she was blessed with.
We always look to point. It's always like we're looking to blame, we're looking to point this finger. But again, it sounds cliche, but you point one finger at somebody, how many fingers are pointing back at you?
Come on now. And it's always got to start with you. It has to start with you because you are you. You can't expect someone to attach themselves to you and you ain't even right in your own self. Come on, man.
It's true. It's true. We have all of these demands and expectations, but are we meeting our own demands and expectations? Half the time we're not. So there is a lot of pressure, to find the right partner, to have a family, to do all of this. And external factors put pressure on you, whether it's parents or friends. It's like, for example, saying, "Oh, how come you're still single?" That's a common thing that people say, "Oh, you don't have kids," or this, that, and the other. But what you have to do is trust your own process and your own pathway, your own journey. And if you're comfortable in your own process, pathway, and journey, and working on yourself constantly, you will attract what is right for you in your life. Simple as. You don't need to feel the pressure because nobody else is, like you said, you are you. Nobody else is you. You're you. Your journey, your life, your experience is unique to you. And don't be looking to compare. How can you be comparing? Every one of us is unique. So how can you try and compare yourself to somebody else? That isn't you.
Right. That's right. But what I do want to say to you guys, because I'm mindful about the time, is if you've missed any of the episodes that we've done for the last month, please do go over to our IGTV straight after the live. You can watch all of the episodes, and also feel free to leave any comments as well. Please do join us every Friday from 4 to 7 on iLive Radio, where myself and Janelle will be doing our drive time. And, you know, we look forward to engaging with you there as well, because you guys are a part of the show as well. So, you know, we just want to say thank you guys for staying with us, supporting us on this journey so far. It's been an absolute blessing. Right, Jay?
It really, really has been a blessing. Hi, Andre. It's been such a blessing, such an insight. You know, we've both grown, we've grown together, but we've grown with our viewers as well. And, you know, the support that